What if I told you that there's a concept in storytelling that if you can master it, it will keep people glued to your stories, regardless of whether or not you're creating content, writing a book, or even pitching investors? Well, there is. And in this video, I'll be showing you exactly what that concept is and how you can apply it in your own situation. Now, before I begin here, I cannot stress this enough. This is one of, if not the single most important concept in all of storytelling. So if you're able to watch this video from beginning to end, you might be able to save yourself years of your life figuring this out the hard way. Let's start with something that everyone is familiar with, something you do every day. You brush your teeth, you make coffee, you go to work. It's not very interesting, right? While it might be your morning routine, it is definitely not a story. Now imagine this instead. You spill coffee on your shirt, you rush to clean it, you miss the bus, and now you're late to the one meeting where you're supposed to ask for your promotion. Suddenly your audience is interested. There's tension, there's pressure. They want to know what happens next. Did you get to ask for the promotion? Did you get the promotion? They're invested. So what changed? It's not the setting or even the overall events. It's not the character. We didn't add a hero or a villain, but something is in the way. There's a gap between what the person wants and what's actually happening. That's what turns the situation into a story and makes people care. That concept, the thing that will hook people into what you have to say, is conflict. It's the single most important concept in storytelling. Conflict is the obstacle between a character and their goal. It's the tension that creates urgency and stakes. Without it, your story is just a status update, or worse, a laundry list. You can have great visuals, a clever idea, even a likable main character, but without conflict, nothing changes and no one pays attention. Let me break it down even more simply. If you were to say a character has a goal, well, that's a start, but it's not interesting yet because the character is simply in a situation. But if a character has a goal, but something stands in the way, now we have the foundation of a story because now we have tension. You can think of it like a math equation. A character plus a goal equals a description, but a character plus a goal plus a conflict equals a story. Without conflict, nothing feels urgent. There's no reason to care. Imagine if you're watching The Truman Show and Jim Carrey never found out that he was living a lie. I mean, sure, you could watch his odd little day-to-day situation, but there would be no conflict. And the movie would probably be pretty short and very boring. Now that you understand what conflict is, let's show how it actually transforms a story. Because the best way to get it is to feel the difference. What's cool here is that you can see this in all sorts of situations. It doesn't just apply to things where you think of typical stories like your favorite movies or TV shows, but it also can be used in business situations like our first example here. So let's start very simple. Let's say someone said Sarah used a tool to make a report and it looked really good. Kind of boring. So alternatively, you could say Sarah's report was due in 2 hours. Her data was a mess. She needed to turn chaos into something presentable fast. So she opened XYZ app. Do you see the shift? There's urgency, stakes, and a problem to solve. That's what makes the payoff feel earned. Now let's look at an example in brand or product storytelling. Something like, our app helps people organize their day. Very flat and boring. Or you could say, every morning, Lisa opens 6 different tabs just to figure out what she was supposed to be working on. She was overwhelmed. Then she found a better way. Suddenly, we're not just listing features, we're solving something painful. You can also see this playing out in social content. Here's what I ate today. But here it is with some conflict. I tried to eat healthy, but totally blew it by lunch. Here's how I recovered without hating myself. Now there's relatability. There's a problem. We want the resolution. You could also see this in explainer video for an app. The flat version would be something like, our app does X, Y, and Z. But with conflict, you could say something like, you're tired of spending 4 hours organizing things that should take 20 minutes. We get it. And we fixed it. It's the same information, but framed through the lens of tension and relief. Soon you'll start noticing conflict in everyday stories, and you'll see how it is the thing that grabs your attention every single time. So now you know what conflict looks like in the wild, but how can you actually implement conflict in your own stories? Most stories already have conflict, but people often skip over it. In this section, I'm going to go over how you can actually frame it clearly and powerfully. If you bury the conflict or skip right to the solution, the story feels shallow or confusing. Here's a simple story structure that anyone can use, and you can use it for anything like an ad, some content, part of a presentation, or a ton of other situations. The first piece, the conflict. What is the core tension or the problem? Next, it's the character. Who is experiencing the conflict? Then we talk about the journey. What do they try? What fails? What finally works? And last, we get the resolution. How does it end? What changed? It doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be clear. Here's an example of all of those things. The conflict. Jess was constantly missing deadlines. Who is the character? Jess is a freelance designer who's juggling 4 clients. What's her journey? She tried sticky notes, spreadsheets, apps. Nothing clicked. Then she found a way to build her schedule visually, the resolution. Now she delivers on time and she actually sleeps. There's pressure. There's trial and error. There's a clear before and after. You can use the same structure anywhere you're telling a story. It could be a customer success story, a product launch recap, a sales pitch, even an explainer video. And don't forget your own about page. Just remember the conflict comes first. If you skip it, you skip the part that makes people care. So that gives you an idea of how you can use conflict. But before we finish, we need to go over some of the biggest mistakes that people make about conflict in storytelling, whether that's in an ad, a presentation, or even just a piece of fiction. So the first mistake is jumping straight to the "we help you to do X." And I'm sure that you have seen this on landing pages or in ad copy, something like, "we help you save time. We help you stay organized." But that's not a story. It's a sales pitch. So how do you fix this? You want to start with what's hard about X. What's frustrating? What's broken? What's at stake for the person that you're trying to communicate to? You want to give the problem some weight before you offer the solution. So instead of saying, "we help busy teams stay organized," you could say something like, "your to-do list is scattered across 6 apps and your team keeps missing deadlines." Sound familiar? Now, if you can get those words straight from your customer, that is even better, because then they will see themselves in the story. They'll think that you read their minds. Mistake number 2 is making the brand the hero. It's so tempting to center the messaging around your company. We did this. We solved that. We're the experts. But that puts distance between you and your audience. So the fix is to let your customer be the hero. Position them as the one on the journey and your product, your service, or your insight as the guide that helps them to succeed. So instead of something like, "our tools help businesses hit their goals," you can try something like, "Mark was spending 6 hours a week chasing status updates. With our tool, he got that time back. Mark wants to be the hero, so let him be, and he will come right to your solution." Mistake number 3 is trying to make everything sound super polished, like you never ran into a problem ever. When you smooth out every detail, there's no tension. No struggle means no stakes, no reason to care. So the fix is to show those real moments. The conflict doesn't make you look weak. It makes you relatable. Instead of saying something like, "I built a 6-figure business in 3 months. By the way, go you." Try something like, "I launched a product, got 3 sales, and I almost quit. But then I tried a different approach." Don't be afraid to include the missteps, the tension, the unknowns. That helps your audience to see how they can go from where they are to where they want to be, just like you did. So since you're still watching this, I'm going to make a guess. You're looking into the skill of storytelling so that you can give better presentations. Well, I recently found a way to make insanely good, like McKinsey level good presentations, just using ChatGPT 4.0. And in the next video, I walk through every step of the process so that you can do the same and create incredible and extremely professional presentations that will absolutely dominate during your next presentation. This is an absolute game changer, even if you're using the skill of storytelling for ad creatives or anything else you might be working on in a business sense. So no matter what you're working on, I'll see you over there.